Morning, folks. Oh, climbing nicely. Morning. Morning. Morning, Lenny. Morning, Ted. Morning, Austin. Adele. John. Alison. Can't see the numbers, can you? 66. Morning, Scott. Morning, Sandra. Morning, Nose. Elizabeth. Christ, it's moving fast this morning. Morning, Bruce. Morning, Brian. Nearly there. Morning, Kirsty. Morning, Tina. Christina. Karen. Michelle. Alistair. Agnes. Morning, Agnes. Morning, Colin. Where are we? Right, we're up to our 100 mark, so let's get this broadcast underway. It's Indytruck Davy, out the truck and at home, because it's a bank holiday, so I'm in my office. And with me this morning is Madam Director, because I've got something to say. Some of you have seen the posts I've put up about Alpa over the last 4 or 5 hours. And some of you might even think I'm having a go at the Alpa party, but I'm not really. And I know a lot of you are expecting me to have a rant at the Alpa party, because I really have been struggling, and I have to say this is true. I really have been struggling over the last week. When I've got the deputy head of the Alpa party telling me my voice doesn't count unless England says it counts. And I've got the rest of the Alpa party telling me we're not having that referendum. Now the reason why I'm struggling is I can't work out what the Alpa party's for, because these are the people that Sarah and I have been campaigning with for years. Sarah and I, that's why she sat here. Sarah and I refuse to believe that the decades, and especially the last decade since 2012, that we have put in so much time, so much effort, campaigned hard, even after we lost the last referendum, dusted ourselves doing, go out, rebuilt the movement, and we refuse to believe that we almost bankrupted ourselves, lost our house, spent every penny we had on independence and getting to where we are now. And I refuse to believe that I've wasted these decades. I'm not angry at the Alpa party. I'm sad that these people that we built the movement with together have lost faith. And it's not that they've lost faith in the SNP leadership or anything like that, because that's a lot of bollocks. They've just lost faith and are wandering in the wilderness. It hurts me because we built such a vibrant movement. To have guys like McCaskill tell me my voice doesn't count unless England says so. Let me address that one first for the Alpa party, okay? The UK's constituted, or the Great Britain's constituted by a treaty. Any partner can negate that treaty, it just needs to say so from the people. As to needing England's permission to hold that referendum, well, Professor Mark Weller, former constitutional advisor to the United Nations, made it quite clear, actually, we don't need their permission. We can go and have one under international law, and it will be legal and accepted. And then let's get to the bit about Mr McCaskill telling the right-wing rag, the Express, that the unionist parties would boycott it. Well, Alex Neil, ex-MSP, previous MSP for this area, actually put that one to bed, as did John Bercow, Speaker of the House of Commons. The fact is, we don't negate the outcome of elections because you didn't exercise your franchise. We don't negate Westminster elections because only 37% of the voters turned out. We don't negate Scottish elections because only 67% of the voters turned out. Look at these council elections. You'd be lucky if you get 2,000 people vote per ward. We're not going to negate the council elections because people didn't turn out to vote. That's not how this democracy works. They'll boycott it, will they? So, on the go and boycott it. They will have had a franchise. It's up to them whether they exercise that franchise or not. They already say that the millions of people who don't vote in general elections are actually making a statement saying that they don't believe in the system, so, they're not going to vote. That's a boycott. We don't negate those elections because of it, Mr. McCaskill. And that's me addressing him straight. And as to this legal challenge push, there isn't going to be any. In 2018, Westminster recognised your claim of right. And that is the right to determine the sort of governance we want. Whether that be in a union or with a union. The people are sovereign. I'm really sad about what's going on with the Alpha Party right now. It depresses me to have friends that we built the first campaign with tell us that we're not getting another campaign and that I've wasted the last 12 years of my life. That we've wasted the last 12 years of our life. I refuse to believe that. And as I've already stated, if the SNP don't have a referendum at the end of by the end of this Parliament, the SNP are a busted flush, so it's off the table for 30 or 50 years. Because the Alpha Party's not coming right into anybody's rescue. They're not even on the radar. They're not polling. They've only been around for one previous election and they took 1.6% of the vote. Now, it's really been difficult for me to watch my friends lose heart like that. It really has. Now, I'd really love the Alpha Party to be a constructive part of our movement and get out there and help us win hearts and minds instead of attacking us. And then us attacking them. It doesn't make any bloody sense. None. But it's really, really difficult for me to watch my friends get so disheartened. It really is. Right, so that's all I've got to say on the posts I've been making about the Alpha Party this morning. It's very difficult for me and Sarah to be told that we've wasted decades of our lives. Right, now let's move on to reviewing the weekend's news. Okay, so it's Indytruck, Davy in the house in Salisbury, where it's overcast and it is 13 degrees. Not a bad day, actually. Alright. So we'll review the weekend's news, 29th, 30th and the 1st of April. Alright. The latest COVID figures that I have available to you were made available to us on Friday, the 29th of March. And on Friday, 2,254 new cases were identified. 1,435 people were in hospital with COVID, and 21 of which were in intensive care. Alright, 23 deaths were recorded from Thursday to Friday of people who died with COVID as a contributing factor in their deaths. Alright, now on Friday the Office for National Statistics tells us that 1 in 25 Scots now have the virus, or 4.2% of the population. Or we can translate that into numbers for you, alright, 220,000 people. Okay, now how accurate are the Office for National Statistics figures? It's very difficult to say as they wind down the testing system. It's going to be hard to monitor how much it's in the community because they're just going to sample communities. So it's going to be very difficult to be able to keep track of this now. Okay, we'll know how bad it's going to be come next winter. And of course other variants are still a problem. Alright, right, let's move on to Friday's news. Alright, all the stories I've picked out because I'm only picking a few stories out for each day. Right, the main stories in the headlines, the rags on Friday morning. Dross defends U-turn, Dross defends PM U-turn. Right, that's a BBC licence fee to be scrapped and new funding shake-up announced by Nadine Dorris. UK to send 8,000 troops to NATO's eastern flank to beef up its defence, NATO's defences. And Dross, he gets another mention in the papers and all. He's accused of misogyny and importing Westminster-style politics into Scotland by saying that the SNP MSP Karen Adams would rather whinge than do anything. Not very. So Dross isn't having a good day. Okay. Right, so that was the papers, the rags. The rags started here, as I say, on four main stories. One of the interesting ones is the shake up of BBC funding. But as we know, they're about to sell off Channel 4, and they really don't want public service broadcasters to criticise the government. Not that the BBC does, but you know, they really want to get rid of public service broadcasting so that they can have absolute control of the media and set the narrative. Alright, let's move on. Moving on, Friday, down that road in the House of Thieves and Carpetbaggers, Labour MP suspended from the Commons for 2 days after Standing Commissioner Catherine Stone found him guilty of bullying. Former Labour Cabinet Minister Liam Bryan found to have bullied a staff member. Right, apparently, after an office dispute, Mr Bryan, he ostracised this staff member, cut him out, locked him out of the parliamentary communications, locked him out of the WhatsApp group, ostracised him for seeing colleagues, and ran down his contract, causing this man severe distress apparently. Anyway, the punishment is that he's to be suspended from Parliament for 2 days for that sort of behaviour. 2 days? Wow. Bit like a school down there, isn't it? No real consequences to your actions. Bully a man for a year and get 2 days in the naughty step. Wow. Right, moving on, Friday here in Scotland, First Minister Nicola Sturgeon denies COVID transfers in Scotland to from Scotland's hospitals to care homes were illegal. The BBC on Friday here in Scotland went on a full attack made after the ruling in England that moving patients from hospitals in England to care homes untested was unlawful. Right. There's even one of their sports supporters on whose parents live in a care home, screaming that the SNP had broke her and her parents' human rights, the right to family life, and that people shouldn't vote SNP on Thursday. I couldn't believe that was outrageous behaviour on the BBC. And then after that, they had renowned a lawyer, Amir Anwar, on a human rights lawyer, Amir Anwar, on. No, I'm not going to say a bad thing about the man, but what he basically said was that the Scottish Government had thrown pensioners under a bus during the pandemic. You know. But as I say, the BBC went full on attack mode. But as I said when I reported on this on from Thursday to Friday, just because a ruling was made in the English courts doesn't mean it'll be found the same in the Scottish courts. We don't know what COVID laws were about. I mean, it could well be that these hospital transfers are covered under under Scottish law. The criteria on whether the government had done something illegal is different under our legal system. Now, I said this, and yet here we have a full-on unionist attack for the BBC because a ruling made in another country under another legal system. Wow, isn't that presumptuous? And apparently people are going to sue the Scottish Government and the English Government. Well, they're not suing the Scottish Government until a ruling's made in the courts on this, because they say we have a different legal system. Right, moving on. Also on Friday, the BBC decided to politicise the census because the SNP government have extended the deadline rather than send out I think it's only 76% have filled it out, rather than send out 24% of households £1,000 fine. Right, so apparently it's going to cost 10 million quid to extend the deadline for a month. That'll be the wages of people working in the census office, I suppose. But anyway, so how did they politicise it? Well, they said the reason why people in Scotland are not following out the census was because we didn't run it at the same time as England. Apart, what the BBC are saying is the British nationalists and Scotland are not following the census out because we didn't do it at the same time as England. Wow. We didn't do it back at the same time as England, so we're in the middle of a bloody pandemic. People had other things in their mind, but the other thing about it was we knew that this was going online this time. And there was going to be a selection of the population who couldn't do it online. Reaching the people was not as easy as it used to be. The letters that come out tell everybody to go online. You've actually got to contact them and get a paper copy. So there was always going to be a percentage of population who weren't going to be able to do the census this time, without having to go through hoops to get a holiday and things like that. And they had to know it was there. The other thing they said was the reason why people are not following the census was, well, because we didn't have the might of the UK Treasury to spend on advertising. There might be something in that, eh? But why didn't the might of the UK Treasury get behind the Scottish census anyway? We're supposed to be in a bloody union. Wow. So the BBC were right out of hand on Friday. The attack dogs of the establishment are in full bloody propaganda mode. And there must be an election coming up, Wow. Right, moving on Friday, back down that road, and Tory MP Neil Parish, who had been watching porn at work, he says he's no intention of standing down, and he intends to continue his constituency work as usual. That changes on Saturday, alright? Right then, talking about Saturday, let's move on to Saturday, right? That's the stories I picked out to talk about on Friday, alright? They started with two main stories in the rags. Boris Becker gets jailed for fraud and hiding hiding assets in his bankruptcy case. But the best one I've seen on that was on the internet, and it said Becker didn't want to go to jail and he wanted to hide his assets. He should have bunged and spoke to the Tory party. I actually thought that was quite a funny one, right? And the other main headline, which was in the rags on Saturday, was Neil Parish refusing to quit after watching porn in the Commons. Now, as I say, but that changes as Saturday moves on, alright? Right, moving on, Saturday here in Scotland, and what about a bit of light on, folks?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I'll do that. Sorry about that, bit of dead air there, but it's getting a bit dark in here. Moving on, Saturday back here in Scotland, and the press call into question the SNP's record on human rights, as it's disclosed that the SNP government had spent 3.6 million of public money in assistance to arms companies here in Scotland. Alright. The SNP government say the public money didn't go on munitions or producing weapons, but it went to help the companies involved diversify its technologies into other types of areas, like communication and things like that. Okay, but there's a Davy says here, right? The UK government invests billions in arms companies every year. Nobody's calling that out. Christ, the UK government are giving licences to companies to sell arms to kill poor buggers in the Yemen. Wow. But like it or not, arms companies are here in Scotland, and they're here in Scotland for a reason. They're here because we have a highly intelligent, skilled workforce. Simple as that. And, we are still going to need arms companies to provide the Scottish Defence Force with weaponry as well when we become independent. So, the Scottish Government spending 3.6 million to help these arms companies divest into different areas is not a bad thing. I mean, some of the technology, like the guidance systems and tracking systems that these arms companies make, could actually go into other types of areas in the economy. All right. Right, moving on. Saturday, and the Telegraph runs a piece saying that the West fear Putin will declare all-out war on Russia's VA Day, okay, Victory in Europe Day, alright. Now, according to I think it's the 9th, I'm not sure. Now, according to the Telegraph and the Independent, Russia will declare a full-on war with Ukraine. Now, you've got to remember that so far Putin's been saying it's just a military exercise, and he's there as a liberating force for two people's republics that he recognises in the south and east of Ukraine. But the speculation on Saturday is that he's going to go full tilt to try to take the whole of Ukraine. Okay. Right, moving on Saturday. And the sleaze stories at Westminster are rousing for the wars. But the story for me, when it comes to Westminster sleaze on Saturday, was the one on how Westminster employees and parliamentary employees are frightened to report misogyny, sexual attack, all sorts, because according to what the paper said on Saturday, the piece was in the Independent, what it was saying was that the complaints procedure and the human resources procedures in Westminster are set up to protect Parliament and parliamentarians. Now that is a problem. You know, they should have the same protections as workers anywhere else, and shouldn't they be subject to human resources and disciplinary or complete grievance procedures that are different from what they are for everybody else in society. The idea that the procedures in Parliament are set up to protect Parliament and parliamentarians is absolutely outrageous. So that was the story that caught me out of all the sleaze that's going on down that road in Westminster. And I'm afraid the Sunday papers are just devoted to it, but we'll get there. All right. So that's a big one. And finally for Saturday, back here in Scotland, polling expert Sir John Curtis says SNP bad / incompetence stories in the press won't hit Indy support at all. He also predicts that the SNP will pick up seats in the council elections and the Tories will lose seats in the council elections and the Tories will be reduced to the third party in the councils. That's Sir Professor John Curtis's analysis of the situation for the council elections this Thursday. Okay. Now, right, so that's what I want. That's the stories I wanted to pick out for Saturday. I hope you found them interesting. Okay, right, let's move on to Sunday. Now, Sunday started mainly with the rags. Two sleaze stories, you know, and we'll go, of course, the Labour bad because remember it's down there we're reflecting on really here. Down that road, you know, it's Labour bad because one of their MPs is a bully, and apparently Keir Starmer had his own lockdown rule breaking party. Alright. Now on Sunday, senior MPs down that road calling the Speaker Sir Lindsay Hoyle to radically reform working practices in the House of Thieves and Carpetbaggers. Alright. But there's a Davy says here. It's dead easy to straighten out what's going on down there in the House of Thieves and Carpetbaggers. Make them subject to the same employment law as the rest of us. Get the pubs and the restaurants out of that crap hole. Yeah. Make sure that MPs have to follow the same employment laws as the bloody rest of us. Do away with parliamentary privilege. And beef up the Standards Commissioner's abilities so that she can bloody well sack MPs. That's what needs to be done in the House of Thieves and Carpetbaggers. Sleaze is an understatement for what's going on down there. So far they fund drugs, they get bevied out their heads, they shout across the chamber drunk. No one or nothing gets done down there. They're having nookie in their offices. Matt Hancock. Wow. No wonder the economy's on its arse and there's no a decent thing being done to improve people's living standards. They're all whacked out their tits and drugs, alcohol and groping each other while watching porn. Wow. Sunday was a gas, guys. I mean a real gas. It was wall-to-wall feckin' sleaze. And apparently the Labour Party lied about Keir Starmer's party thing. They said Angela Rayner wasn't there. Turns out she was. We'll get a wee bit more on the Angela Rayner story on Sleazegate down that road for Sunday. Anyway, Starmer, he's trotted out to get around the TV studios. You know how it is on Sunday. You got all the morning You know, you get somebody top for each party, give you a bit of waffle. Well, there's a local elections coming up down that road, so it's more important. Anyway, Starmer's asked about this party, and he just shrugs it off and says, yesterday's news. You know, it's a distraction for the cost of living crisis down that road. In fact, right across these islands actually caused by down that road. You know, so there you have it. Starmer, you know, casually breaks the law and all. Bugger it, eh? Apparently the cops are not going to investigate this. Well, they bloody well should. It might not be as mental as what was going on at number 10, when I'm swinging for the rafters out their tits and coke and booze, and titbits and cheese. You know, but he should be prosecuted just the same as anybody else. You know, but absolutely mental down that road. Absolutely mental. Right. What else we got? Aye, the Tories are calling on the police to investigate, alright. Also Sunday, Angela Rayner's back in the news because when they were looking for the source of the Sharon Stone basic instinct thing that hit the Tory press, well, some Tory come forward and say it was Sharon Stone. It was Angela Rayner that said that herself, that she was using the tactic to distract Boris. Well, you know, if she's got Boris to a T, because he's nothing more than a Neanderthal. It wouldn't take much to distract an idiot. You know? But of course, Miss Rayner defends herself and says the Tory MP's talking pish. Alright, these are all unnamed people, by the way. But it makes headlines. What the real thing that's going on with Partygate this particular weekend and Friday, and the sleaze on Friday, is to hide the fact that the elections bill has just passed. Where the Tories have introduced voter ID, they've made it easier for outside influences to finance political parties and politicians. Well, they've more or less gerrymandered the vote to keep themselves in power in perpetuity. So, there you go. That's what this sleaze shit's all about this weekend. To hide the fact that voting has just been more or less rigged on behalf of the Tories. And when this new boundary bill passes, the Tories are more or less guaranteeing themselves in power forever. Wow, we need to get away from these spanners as quick as hell, so the Alpha Party better be rang. There better be a bloody referendum, because we don't need one. It's getting mental. It really is. Right, now I haven't really mentioned the Ukraine over the course of the weekend, so, Sarah, please. So we'll put the last bit of Sunday out of what was going on in the Ukraine, okay. Oh no, hold on. Yeah. Aye, let's move on to Ukraine. Sunday, and the situation in Ukraine gets ramped up. Russia ramps up its attacks on the south and the east, and it said that they're marshalling more troops for a major offensive in that area. Okay. Also Sunday, Russia declares that the ruble will be used in the Ukrainian in the Ukrainian city of Kherson in the south of Ukraine, which is held by the Russians. Now, the deposed Ukrainian mayor of Kherson, I'll try this one, folks, I don't know how it's going to go though, Kiev, said he can't see how that'll work, as the only functioning bank in the area is a Ukrainian bank. The post mayor also said the people of the city have other ideas and they will continue to trade in the Ukrainian currency. Alright, also Sunday, the Speaker of the House of Representatives of America, Nancy Pelosi, visits Ukraine and tells Zelensky that the US that he'll get the US's full support and that Ukraine is fighting for everyone's freedoms. And Sunday, the UK ambassador for Ukraine is back in Kyiv, and she says she's comfortable reopening the UK's embassy in Kyiv despite the risk. Alright, so that's basically the upshot of what's going on in Ukraine. things haven't really changed much. The people of Mariupol were some of them were evacuated for the steel plant in Mariupol as well, and some of the stories they've been telling apparently are horrendous, about days and months in darkness and having very little to eat and drinking rainwater and things like that. So that's a roundup of what's going on in Ukraine. Okay, so let's move on to this morning and what the papers have to say, and then we'll be underway. Okay, what we got? The Telegraph, Scott Johnson planning to bring back right to buy in England. Tory fears over Sue Gray's legal advisor who tweeted, "If you trust PM, you're a mug." And menopause should be treated before it reshapes brain, says expert. So that's what you've got in the Telegraph. The Herald has Sturgeon, Ukraine war will not stop us ditching Trident. FM plans speedy withdrawal of nuclear deterrent from Clyde after independence. This is this First Minister doesn't talk about independence, by the way. Right, Scottish Daily Fail has shows the proofs are clear. They go on the Keir Starmer Partygate saga. The Looney Rag the Express has minimum booze prices £270 million failure. Boost to nation's health. No boost to nation's health. No effect on employment. And no reduction in crime rate. Oh, which is bollocks, of course. We know Scotland's got crime at a 40-year low. I don't see how the boost thing was going to have an effect on employment anyway. And no boost to the nation's health. Well, actually, before COVID, everybody was locked down and started bevying. There had been a boost to the nation's health. It had been reported on many times. Alright, the Daily Record has evil doc abused us too. And Top Cop predicts that Freck's allegations against Predator GP are just a tip of the iceberg. And that's the Coatbridge GP who was found to have been abusing women in a surgery. Right, and the National has outrage at Scots isn't a language comment. This one's the funniest one in all, right? This one's for wee Fuchsie, wee pissy pants. You know, wee George Fuchs. What's really funny about this one is because wee George Fuchs and his Labour government actually ensured it was officially recognised as a language worldwide. And then we've got wee pissy pants telling us that Scots isn't a language. Away you go, you wee numpty. Absolutely mental. I think George has found himself a fresh bottle of whiskey to swig on. He's been known to like a wee swally that yin. So he has. What an absolute nut job. Right, what's the Star go for us today? Well, the Star goes on old firm war of words. You hate to see it. Well, apparently the Bigot brothers were having a go at each other. You know, they 90-minute bigots that forget all about it on Monday morning, go about making a living and working with everybody and, you know, just getting on with things, you know. But apparently the 90-minute bigots were at each other after the old firm draw at the weekend there. So that's where the Stars go for us. Okay. So I have very little interest in that, you know, how the Bigot brothers see each other. They're a minority, both sides, in our society. Sectarianism isn't a thing in our society, really. It's just a tiny minority of idiots. And I mean that. So that's what I've got for you folks. That's my that's my review of the weekend and my word on the Alpha Party. I see, I know all you were expecting a rant with some of the things I've been writing. But near rant, just sadness in my heart that so many of our friends have lost heart. I hope they find solace. I'm not giving up hope. But as I've said before, if the SNP don't have a referendum by the end of this Parliament, SNP's a busted flush and Indy's after cards in my lifetime. But I'm going to stay optimistic because some of your responses to these posts have really cheered me up. And the usual wittabootery to Davy, the Gender Recognition Act and all that crap, you know. So you guys have a nice bank holiday Monday. Sarah and I have got the day off. So we're going to relax and probably take Buster for a wee wander on the hill. Catch you all tomorrow. Bye. Bye.